We'll call the meeting in order for the Ashland Board of Commission. If you all will stand, let's do the pledge and Mr. Marty. Uh-oh.
You moved it down to the.
That's right. Well, would you start it out with prayer?
Okay. Let's pray. Our Father in heaven, we thank you for this wonderful day in our city. We thank you for our city and how you've blessed us in times past. We pray you'll continue to do so. We pray your Holy Spirit will guide us in this meeting, Lord. Be with everyone here. We pray, God, that we'll make the right decisions for our city and in the best interests of our citizens. And bless our time together. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Well, we'll pass it up. We were at the Rosa Parks commemorative 70th anniversary and had a great time there, and that's where our flags are at.
Motion to receive and file the call letter.
I'll second that.
All right, first and the second and all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. We actually have just two items on the agenda today. That's our conference center and then the management of the Paramount Arts Center, going forward. We've been working on this, since January, all of us have, and since we took office, and looking at all the different possibilities that we have. But I think, I think all of us agree that sustainability is the key focus that all of us are trying to work for. I think, we've had the first reading for the Paramount management plan, but what that does is open it up for discussions. But since this is twofold, and we do have the conference center update, we have Mr. Sam Howard, with us today from the AP3 group, and first of all, would you give us an update on the conference center?
We'd like to do both simultaneous and back-to-back, if you don't mind.
We can probably do that, yes.
Just because they tie together. And also with us today is Jake Shermer. Jake is a managing partner of AP3, and I would ask Jake to do the handouts and let Jake lead off, if it's okay with you, sir.
Okay, all right.
Jake, you ready?
Sure.
Yes.
Yep.
Super. Do the handouts.
Let me hand those out, yeah. Do you all have the timeline?
Yes.
It needs to be handed out to him, please.
While those get handed out, I thought maybe I'd start with a little bit, thank you, Mayor, start with a little bit of a history lesson on how we got to where we are today. So in 2022, the city put out for a feasibility study for a conference center through CSL and EOP Architects. What they found is the city really needed a conference center, and the city then put out an LOI for developers to come in to design, build, operate, and maintain the facility. Then which we submitted on, AP3 did, and then thank you. And then in October of 2023, the city put out an RFP for a P3 developer to come in, design, build, operate, and maintain. In March of 2024, we were selected as that developer. There were two other submissions, and we worked on designing a facility. At that time, it was a very large facility, but as we got into discussions with the city, we decided to scale that back some. There are cost considerations, many things about the revenue streams that we weren't aware of when we submitted, and kind of landed where we are today at the Paramount site next to the Paramount Theater. I can get into all kinds of details. Some of this is not relevant to today's meeting, but you have that timeline in front of you to review. And then in October of let me take a step back. In April of 2024, when we were awarded, we started on the design. We were working through the design with the city. And at that time, towards the middle of September, October 1st, the city purchased the Paramount Theater. And what our agreement was structured as is a design, build, operate, and maintain. So that was what we were looking at for the conference center. And on November 5th, we were selected to design we got the design agreement with the city to move forward. And then in November, since we knew the structure of the contract, we started talking to various operators. We talked to ASM Global, which is a large venue. We also talked to OVG, which is Oakview Group. They do like Rupp Arena, and also talked to Venue Works, who do more tertiary size cities, and did Paducah. They have a facility in Paducah, Cedar Rapids. And then with having those discussions, we kind of got into the design aspect, right? So we needed an operator to help us through the design, because, designers always want to design, but there has to be a functionality to it. So that's why we needed an operator involved in that process. Sam, do you want to talk more about the design then, or?
Yeah, I'll be glad to. Folks handed out in front of you. I doubt that I need the microphone, but I will roll up here. Thank you, Jake. In front of you, that is a two-part document. The first part is the actual front rendering, and I'm going to do something here since we don't have a screen. Jake, do you have a copy of this, please? If you would here, just so folks can see what we're talking about, hold it up to give them a view.
Can we maybe circulate a copy or two? in
The extra
audience?
copies, we do have 3 or 4 copies, just circulate it around so folks can see it. We have several extra copies. So I'm going to get started. So if you, I'm sorry. Thank you, Michelle. Did you give yours away? I'll come back here where you can see mine with you. Okay, thank you. So if you look at that front rendering, and let me make a couple of comments about what you're looking at. These are diagrammatic, meaning they are not set in stone. Fact is, they're not really set in quicksand to this day because they are still to be ferreted out. The other thing is, don't look at any colors that you see. Those colors are also diagrammatic. The colors are just for effect for you to be able to see the different parts and pieces. Thank you, Johnny. So I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to show you the elevations, then I'm going to take you to the floor plans themselves on what we've come up with. This is a design development document, meaning it's about 50% in design. One of the things that I could probably touch on later, but I'll touch on now. When we started design, there was no set operator established for the conference center, nor was when we decided that the conference center would be moved across the road to the lot that the city already owned. That decision to move it from beside the hotel to the city-owned lot was made considerably in advance of the city purchasing the Paramount. The city did not own the Paramount when it was decided to move to that lot. Owned the Paramount when it was decided to move to that lot. There's been 14 different design iterations between on the end of the hotel, also extending into the parking lot, and also on the Paramount. It originally started as a 3-story building on the Paramount lot site that the city owned, and the 2 small buildings could stay or they could go. That would have been up to the Paramount, and they would be operated separately, not connected. After the city purchased the Paramount, we was charged and asked, what's this look like to now connect the two and operate them as one venue, as one full facility. So that's how we got to where we are when we get to talking about the actual buildings themselves. And we did go down to a 2-story with a mezzanine level, and I'll explain what that means in a minute, so the building become more of a low rise. It would not take away from the Paramount. For those that heard me a little over a year ago, it's our intent then, and it's our intent today, for what we construct that will now be connected to the Paramount. It will be accretive to the Paramount, and it will be complementary. It will not compete with it, nor will we try to make it look like it. That would be a travesty of the historical heritage of the Paramount. It's its own standalone building. Now, I've heard a lot of comments about how out-of-towners are coming in and taking over. Well, folks, I'm from Lewis County. I have several employees of over different companies that live here. Many of them was at the Festival of Trees and Trains. We done a project in Maysville, Kentucky about 12 years ago that won the Kentucky Historical Heritage Council Project of the Year and the Kentucky Associated General Contractors Project of the Year. And what it was an 1865 historic building known as the Cox Building. The city owned I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you built the police station across the street, didn't you?
That is correct. I'll tell you a little more in a moment of what we've done here in the local
CTC
community.
and-
But the Cox Building itself in Maysville was a national register building. And quite frankly, the city owned it. The city tried to do the work themselves and burnt the top 2 floors off the building. Luckily, they had a good insurance policy. The insurance company brought us in to see, they thought it was a tear down because the top 2 floors was gone and the 3rd level was actually burnt out to where you could see above it. You just looked into open sky. That was a building that was from 1865. We saved the building. It was relisted on the National Register, not as a renovation, but a reconstruction, meaning we took it back to period era. That's okay. I can do it without it. I don't need that. Sorry, guys, the hands don't work real well. We took it back in a reconstruction, so the building is relisted, and it has all the attributes. We went to the trouble of what could be saved from the original hinges on the doors, some of the doors with burn and smoke marks on them, and also some of the actual baseboard, much like what you have in this building, was taken to an off-site facility and restored, saved, dried out, and put back in the building. So for those that are saying an out-of-state company is coming in here and taking over and going to take all Ashland's money away, that is incorrect. The commission's contract is with AP3. AP3 is a Kentucky company. All 3 owners are Kentucky people. All 3 owners own Kentucky businesses aside from AP3. So I just want to make it clear, this is, as a lot of them are portraying, saying that an Iowa company that has no legacy or no history is coming in to take over, is the farthest thing from the truth. We'll get more into that when we talk about the actual operation. Mayor, just looking at the front level, I'm not going to go through all of it. You've got 3 other elevations, if you will. You've got the 2 on the front. You've got a side elevation and a rear elevation. Again, they're diagrammatic, meaning there will be changes. We have not tried to identify fit and finish or colors. This is so we can get an operator in that understands what it needs. The other thing that AP3 done last year in 2024, AP3 hired a consultant that is a consultant to the convention and conference center industry. He's a 35-year veteran that now has a consulting business that looks at plans. He has reviewed every one of these plans. He is not an operator. He will never be an operator. He's a consultant that works directly for AP3 to show how things work. If you'll flip your drawings upside down now. Jake, I will do this so I'm sorry. I can tell them, I want to kind of point a couple of things out. This is your first floor plan on the back of the page you have. That's your first floor plan. I got a couple of things I want to point out specifically to you. If you look to the left, you'll see the Paramount itself. You'll see 2 admin areas. Those 2 admin areas are existing. Those will be left and reused. that is important in a little bit later, and I'll come back to those two areas and just mention them in some other remarks. A couple other things I want you to look at. It has 2 sets of monumental stairs coming up. That way you service and you can get folks from the second floor back down to the first floor. You have a center entrance that has a vestibule for an airlock and a security for however we need to set up security. Has not been decided yet, has not went through, but we have a security consultant that'll go through all that. If you look that in the center, the kind of a burnt orange yellow looking, that's 4 individual conference rooms that are separated by 3 movable partitions. Meaning we can have 4, we can have 3, we can have 2, or we can open it all up for whatever size meeting room is needed for whatever conference is looking. The other thing you'll look at, and I want to specifically address, in the front, you're going to see some red lines. Those dark red lines dictate firewalls to separate this facility from the Paramount. 2 things I want to point out there. One is the firewalls themselves. By putting those firewalls there, and separating the Paramount from the new conference center and not make it connected along that whole east wall, we do a fire barrier, and we do not have to put a sprinkler system inside the Paramount. That is the last thing you want, is a sprinkler system to go off in there and ruin the murals you have. One other thing that's been bannered around very much is that we're going to change the Paramount. That Paramount's going to be renovated to put a flat floor in so you can do conferences in there. Folks, I'd be the first in line to hang on to the set of brass knuckles that would beat anybody's head that done that, just to be real country about it. This is part of what Ashland's heritage is. It is not being changed. The inside of it, other than what's required by code, and we're doing an ADA upgrade inside it so that folks like myself can use it in a wheelchair and not have to go outside and roll around in the snow or the mud, whatever it may be, or even on blacktop with ice to be able to attend a show. It is no fun to go to get your ticket, go back outside and go around, or try to use the handicapped lift that's there. That, quite frankly, hasn't worked in several years. And you want to be scared to death? Hop on one of these things and hop on that lift and it start going up through there and someone run by and brush you real hard and the chair move. It'll make you get a bit nervous very quickly. So I don't do it unless I can do it to where we use an elevator or we go directly in from the first floor. I don't use those lifts. They are an acceptable ADA lift when they work, and we may upgrade it to make it work a short while, or we may do something else. That's all with what the Heritage Council and also HBC tells us. So the other thing on that first floor, right beside those firewalls, is kind of a burnt umber or an orange that's got a little white area around it that looks like a counter. That's the cafe. Seen a lot of comments that we're putting a cafe in, or the city is having a cafe put in to compete with the other businesses. Again, completely untrue. That cafe is so that when you have 800 or 1,000 people or 200 or 300 that's attending a conference here, they have a place to buy coffee or merchandise or tea or whatever, or sandwiches. It's so that when they have it, if you don't want to use the full kitchen, which will be on the 3rd floor, you use this area. It has a food prep area. It's dedicated for the conference center. There's another attribute that we purposely made this. If you look at the way the flow works on the first floor, out of the Paramount into this, you stay inside and you traverse the entire perimeter of the building on the inside. You exit back out to the parking lot in the rear while you're in the building. You don't have to walk around the street. So while people's walking back and forth, we can have the cafe open if the Paramount is going. And anyone that's went to the Paramount has been frustrated when they've tried to buy themselves a beverage of any kind and something to eat, and they've stood in line for 15 minutes in that little small room and they can't get around. You want your customer, you want those attending the shows to have a good experience. Part of that's quality show. Part of that is the experience they have while they're there. We know the facility's beautiful. Now we need to upgrade a little bit and have more and better space now that we have this conference center, or will have, that we can have another area to serve food, to serve drinks from. They will be complementary to each other and make both of the facilities better. If you would, let's flip to the 2nd floor. And the 2nd floor and the 3rd floor will be shown on your next page. And as you flip it up, the one that flips up, of course, is the second floor. There again, you have your large area is in the center in the kind of a goldish looking color. There again, it has 5 ways to divide, and we can do a multitude of ways, or we can move those partitions. There is specifically areas you can look in the front that's in the light blue. That's to hide the partitions out of the room. Those fold right up into the room and they go away. So that entire area can be used for a large conference. And then you have the large restroom on each side, all the back of house area in the back. And in the back of it, we had a set of stairways that goes from the first floor up for for fire code access and actually transversing the actual back of house folks to get up and down from first to second floor. The other thing in the back, you'll see freight elevator. That's an oversized freight elevator that can move very large piece of equipment, vehicle, whatever. If we have something that needs to be showcased on the second floor, it can go from the first to the second, and it's oversized and it's an industrial access type elevator. It's not your standard passenger elevator or even an elevator that most people would see that would be like a 6x6 or a 6x8 for traffic inside a hotel or something like that. In the front, you can see the 2 monumental stairways that lead from the second floor down to the first, and there'll be some open areas there to give it more volume of space and to give it a better curb appeal. On the third page at the bottom, you'll also see the kitchen is on that third floor area. That gets a lot of the noise up and away from the conference room itself. It also gives us a place for a larger prep area for the prep area of the kitchen, and it also gives us area for break rooms, conference, and different things for the Paramount itself. So with that gives you an overview of what our design revolves around. A couple of things I want to mention before we get back into the talking notes. There is nothing that will be constructed here, nothing that will move even to a bid stage that this commission does not approve, period. There will be a 50% design approval. You'll have a CD approval, meaning 90% documents. You'll have a bid set, and you'll have the opportunity, and so will the community, to see every one of them. Once we present them to council and you tell us to move forward, that set of documents at that time becomes a public document. They're subject to an ORR. Anyone that wants them can file an ORR and get a copy of that document if they'd like to have it. There's nothing being hid here, nothing, including what all of social media is harping about. I understand that's the way today's society is. No one talks across the fence or stands on the street corner and sips on a cup of coffee. They go behind the keyboard and social media, and that's where everybody gets their information.
So what's the timeline, Sam, for all those different levels?
Absolutely. We are almost to the 50% level now. That's the document you have there. That 50% for approval will be done by mid-January. We are currently, and I'll talk more about it in a moment, but currently, once the Festival of Trees and Trains is completed and time for that to be back in order, we will move into the 2 small buildings with the interior demo portion that's necessary. And what that'll do, it'll open up areas above the ceiling that we can't see so we can get load bearing, see where load bearing is, see what type of construction is hidden in there, what we might have to upgrade to make the rest of the building. One of the things
Will the demolition on those 2 buildings start?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
When will the demolition on those 2 buildings start?
That'll start in about 10 days to 2 weeks, but they'll still be usable.
One other thing, where are the escalators in the plans?
We don't have them in there yet. That's what we're holding off to see where they'll work. Those aren't shown.
Gotcha.
On one of the things that we was asked, both by the Paramount director and also some of the commission, was there a way to leave the existing restrooms there, not to have to take them out? Because if we took the restrooms out, and what most people don't understand, a majority of the women's restroom is built out into the 2 low-rise buildings. They're not inside the Paramount. The other thing is, there's a basement under about half of them, and the basement extends out past the edge of the walls on the restroom a little bit. So what we've got and what you see here is a design that completely leaves the restrooms intact as they are. We'll take the outside it's inside now, but we'll take the outside part of the wall. Some of that will then become an exterior wall that'll be load bearing, and we'll have foundations and footers for it. And what we will do when we're putting the structural steel, we intend to put a temporary roof over those 2 restrooms, and we're going to construct a steel all the way around them so we don't touch them. Those will be used for whatever activity the Paramount has. If we had to tear them out, the only thing that we would be able to do is set a portalette trailer outside, so anyone other than 2 or 3 at a time, if they had to go to the restroom while they was attending a Paramount show, would have to go outside and use a temporary facility. No one wanted that to happen, and this design takes that into account,
Good
and we
idea.
make it so that does not have to happen.
That works.
Mayor, back to your timeline. To do the inside demolition and investigation, we had originally wanted that to be in the middle of November, but in discussing with folks here within the city and other meetings that we've had, we did not want to disrupt the operation of the Festival of Trees and Trains. We decided in-house we'd move it back, and there's enough design. We don't think that it hurt our design timeline. The 100% documents ready for bid will be ready, what we are now projecting around June, July is when the 100% documents will be done. We'll already have some of the demo done. The low-rise buildings will be taken down. I'll talk about how we address that in just a moment, because we have to also do more investigation below grade under those buildings. We don't know what soil is like under it. We have to come back in and do some geotechnical borings to know exactly how deep the foundations are on the Paramount, to know exactly what the soil is like under the existing building, and where those areas are, we'll have to either fill in or bridge over with steel. So we'll be doing all that in the design phase, so that as soon as we get design done, we will be able to go right into construction. And at this time, we have a projection that construction will be done and turned over to the city in November of 2027. Now, we are pushing hard to beat that timeline a little bit until we can get further along in approvals through housing, building, and construction. I can tell you those approvals will take you somewhere between 60 and 75 days after we get a full set done. What we will do in the meantime, we'll do what's called a site and foundation set. We'll submit it for CRIC approval so we can start the below grade work while HBC in Frankfurt is approving and verifying the rest of the document meets their code review and what's required. That's your timeline for the way it sits now. We'll refine that as we go through and design. We'll get you more information relative to that design and relative to those timelines, and we will come back with regular updates to the normal city commission meeting. We will ask for the city commission to put us as just a line item once we get into CD final 75-80% documents, so we can present them to you at that time and get approvals to move forward. So that in a nutshell is what Jake and I have on the actual design itself. Questions we'd be glad to take from any of the members on the design itself. Now, what, if permissible, Mayor or Council, what I'd like to do is answer any questions that you may have on the design itself. And there's going to be some things in the discussion as far as operations that will be relative back to design. So I'd like to just go from the questions you have specifically about design into operations, and then if it's permissible to open up questions to the floor from the general public, we're an open book, folks. We'll answer any question you have if we know a truthful answer. If we don't know the answer, we will get an answer, and we will have an answer back with them within 2 days. If someone sends us a question through the city, we commit we will have an answer to their question within 2 days of them sending that question. And I encourage the general public to send in your questions. Please don't rely on social media for your answers. If they don't ask their question of us, or if they're not hearing this or seeing these documents, all they're doing is regurgitating third-hand information, and rarely is it true. And typically, it puts the city in a bad light because no one knows what's being discussed and what's being done. Knows what's being discussed and what's being done. That's what the general public voted for this commission and mayor to do, is to represent the city. And I will go on record today and say, that's what you've done. You stopped production of drawings for almost 3 months because you didn't understand and you did not know how it come from going on the end of the hotel to be on the city-owned site. You didn't know how it got there. One of the first meetings that we attended at the police station, I got bombarded with questions. I handled it wrong. I'll be the first to say that, because I thought it was being accusatory that I'd done something wrong. That wasn't what the questions were for. The questions was because this group did not know the answers. So we regrouped, we back up, we got the answers, we went through another timeline document, we put together a full set of documents that was presented in an open meeting, starting from the first iteration all the way through to where we are 2-3 months ago, whenever we presented that, or 5, time gets away. So there's nothing being done behind closed doors. That's what the public asks you to do, is represent them, and that's what you've done, and I want the community to know that. Questions the commission may have?
Gentlemen? I think this is a good timeline, good frame up. I mean, I think that's good. Well, if not any questions on the
Well, I'll
design,
ask one. How soon will you decide where the escalator is going to be in the?
That'll be very quickly here. We wanted to get an operator on board besides just our consultant to know where things would work, how it would move up and down, what all that it would do. So that's going to be in the immediate future.
yeah, to explain what Mr. Martin's asking is, the commission didn't think we could move that many people up and down stairs in stairways or elevators. You know, escalators was the way to go, so.
Yep. Well, this will take some refinement. One of the things that we will look at, depending on how everything sits, we may have to move a stairway 10 feet or something. It may have to go in with a wall because of access and only have one monumental stair instead of 2, with the elevator sitting in the middle or sitting to the side. That's stuff the operator needs to tell us so we can get a good design.
So will the ADA access be through the convention center into the Paramount?
It certainly will. Well, you will have the front access through the front main doors, and the way we have it envisioned right now, there's going to be a way for ADA access to go from the first level at the street, will be the same level as the conference center, and you come in, and where the 2 stairs, there's going to be a way that we get ADA access to get up to that level and then go back down into the pit.
The seating level?
Correct. You will go with the you will go at the top seating level of the lower section.
Right.
You'll still go in from there and go down the aisle like they done when the handicap, or when that chairlift was working properly. We have not went in to look. We've been told that the chairlift cannot be repaired. I don't know that. We have not looked at that yet, but as soon as we get to where we know we're going to, if we are, and if you have a second reading for us to operate, we'll definitely get in and have that tested. I would like to be able to make it operational for a time. It helps us in our construction because it gives us an easier access for folks to enjoy the Paramount. But it's just
Kind of
something.
tying in what we're doing with the Paramount, you mentioned the HVAC needs work, obviously. Probably well over $1 million worth.
Those studies are being done by the engineers. We do know that both the boilers are quote unquote, and this come from someone inside or from the Paramount, they're on their last legs and they got a banana peel under one of the legs. Kind of was the analogy that we was given. There's also an HVAC unit on the outside. Quite frankly, hasn't worked in years. It's shut off. There's things that have to be done, both from an operational standpoint. They have to have the upgrades. They're required. And from a code standpoint, once you have this activity going on, you must upgrade them and make them so that they work.
And as I understand it, you've inquired and we've been told by the state that that would be eligible for the convention center funds that are available to upgrade the
Yeah, I have that.
HVAC in the Paramount.
I have that in the rest of the document here on the folks we talked about.
The public isn't hearing.
Yeah, but we'll make sure they hear that, absolutely.
We also use the bonds for that purposes too.
Sam, unless you're from Ashland or lived here many years, it's hard to describe what the Paramount means to us. We're trying to, preserve our past and, embrace the future. I just want you to know, I have confidence you can do that. My only question is, What is the total square feet of the new building?
About 52,000 square feet. It'll go up or down 400 or 500 square feet, depending on what we do for ADA access, how wide the kitchen consultants are now in laying out how the kitchen has to work. That's going to dictate how wide that kitchen area. Quite frankly, we've got it at the widest we know it needs to be now. If we can make it 2 feet or a foot in less in width, we will do that because of the clear span. And I know I'm getting way too technical, but the clear span on the steel, with as much clear span as we have, it is a huge steel girder that goes in there. And I'm talking about a 6 foot tall steel girder just to hold the joist because of the clear span. So every little bit we can make it that it's not as wide, the better off it is as far as cost.
Okay, on the second floor, the ballrooms, what's the square foot of that in the orange color here?
Jake, we'll have to add it up. That's, I think I know, but I'm not positive. And Jake, I know that little writing, I am not going to be able to add that up
About
even with
11 or
glasses on.
12, I thought.
Second.
I believe, and I'm going to, from my memory, I believe it's about 11,000 square feet in the ballroom, but let Jake add it up.
It doesn't have it on.
It doesn't have it.
No,
It's
but it's about
about-
11,000 to.
It's about 11,000 square feet on that level, and a little under 10 on the first level, I believe is what's correct. That'll be very close
We're right at 20,000, a little over 20,000.
on both
square feet.
floors.
Combined, yeah.
Thank you.
More
Any other
questions?
questions? Okay, also in your design work, you mentioned having an operator to give you the consulting with this, and if you want to expound on that with what we get into the operations.
Be glad to. So that's a little bit incorrect. We didn't have an operator consulting with us. We had a consultant that worked for operators. He worked for the largest, one of the largest in the United States. He has his own consulting company that he now goes out and consults with design build folks, P3 companies, and municipalities on how they can make them flow better, how they need, what the ceiling heights need to be. We actually employed that consultant outside of anyone we talk with as far as operations. We wanted that control and we wanted that separation, if you will. I didn't want someone that could possibly be the operator to tell me how it needed to be done, because if they told me one thing and a different operator tells me something else, I don't know which one's giving me the best layout, but one of them may be steering me one way to make them more competitive than the other. So we brought an outside consultant in so we didn't have that conflict of interest. So in addition to that, and I'm going to look at a couple of things here. In January, or actually on January the 7th, AP3 met with Kentucky Heritage Council. I mentioned it a little bit. We went through our program. We showed them the design intent. We got no pushback on anything we was wanting to do. The biggest thing they was concerned about is that we did not change the interior historic nature of the building. So what they don't want you to do is go in and rip the murals out and cover it up with drywall. They don't want you, they will not allow you to do that. They will allow you to go in and flatten out the floor so you can have a conference center and just a flat floor with a stage. They won't allow that. It's protected as a nationally registered building. Those protections are in place for the city as the owner and for the facility itself for it being a nationally registered. We understood that. I mentioned the Cox Building. Not only the Cox Building, but that was one on historic register, but one of our companies, the one that I'm CEO of, we built the police station right next door. We built Moe's Southwest Grill. We built Penn Station. We've done all of Boyd County Schools work. We do Raceland's work. We do Russell's work. We do Greenup County's work. We do Carter County's work. And if you want to get further out, all the other contiguous counties, we do their work also. Part of it is negotiated as a construction manager. Part of it is a lump sum hard bid. The construction company's been in business, it'll be 33 years in January. We get our work on our reputation, not on price. We've hard bid 3 projects in the last 2 years. That's unheard of. The reason we haven't done that, because we've negotiated for the other work, or it's been CM work that we was picked on our qualifications, not on our price. So we're very proud to be a part of AP3, but we're also very proud of what this city has done over the years. It needs some changes. We all know that. Everybody does. That's why you're doing this. You're doing it to make the city the grand city she was years ago. So you can say, and social media will say, well, we don't have any industry here. Guess what? Couple of things industry does when they come to look at town, and we do economic development also. I just sold a large property in South Shore. We recruited a company to buy it, and they're moving into it. They're already there. You know what one of the first things a company looks at in a community when they move in? First thing they look at is educational. Second thing they look at is, what are my executives going to have to do with their families? They want that quality of life. If you don't have it, and if you're not willing to build it, they're not coming. So anybody that says you have to have the industry first, they're fooling themselves. It would be great to have industry first and then build around it, but if that's going to happen, it's going to be somebody locally doing it. You're not going to get a big company come in unless they see what the vision of the city and the county is. That's the only way that's going to happen. So we met with the Heritage Council, and we're good there. When we done that, we also, at that time, on February 4th, we met and we done a detailed document outlining the entire process with the new mayor and commission on how we got to where we did in February. And at that time, after February, and folks, I'm gonna reference this. I don't like doing notes, but I want to make sure I get the dates right, and I don't want to get one wrong. On February the 18th, we met with the Conference City Committee and gave them a layout for how the conference center could be built on the end of the hotel, where we started. We went through that whole iteration. That was on February 18th. During February and March and even into April, we was trying to figure out how it could be done. We met with the hotel operators. They were not against this in any way. Very frankly, the mayor met directly with them, and they pledged to the mayor right after he took office, they would work with him any way they could to make this work. And they told me, I believe they also told the mayor, that a conference center on the city-owned lot would work for them also. It didn't have to be attached to their hotel. It created a problem that was not insurmountable because their covenants with their flag requires them to have a certain amount of parking spaces. So they was perfectly willing to let the city build on their parking lot, but it would have to be an elevated deck, which raises cost because they have to keep the same amount of square foot or same amount of parking spaces. We went through all that. The mayor and the commission went through all that. We presented all that to you. And it was ultimately decided that no, it needs to be built back over on the lot that the city owned at the conference center. And that's where we put it, and that's where it's going. And April 15th is when we brought on the consultant. That was of last year, roughly 8-9 months ago. We brought a consultant in to consult with us. On July the 14th, the consultant, Rick Booth, and myself and Jake Shermer, we met with the executive director of the PAC, Inc., to discuss the operations and learn more about the history of PAC, Inc. It was discussed in this meeting that the Paramount and Conference Center may be operated as one entity. Let me explain how that comes about. The original RFP that the city issued was for a P3, public-private partnership, that designs, builds, operates, maintains, and at that time, the city was looking at paid parking. That was an option that was put in for us to give them. We went through months and months of design on paper of how paid parking could work, and the city toward the end of 2024 decided they was going to do it. If they done paid parking, it would be with city staff. They wasn't going to do it with an outside agency. They bought all the equipment, they had the equipment, that's all water under the bridge, but that was all part of the RFP. Our original document back in November of last year was the design and build for a stipulated price. The stipulated price is it will not go over X amount. So we're held to that. The city holds us to building this facility for a certain amount of dollars. So there will be no cost overrun on our portion of the build. That dollar is already established. I can't come back to you and say, well, we designed you something that's 30% over budget. call your general fund and see if Michelle can squeeze it out. I know that answer. I don't have to ask. And I know what the answer from you is, nope, we're not doing it. So we've got to design what fits. And we're doing it open book, meaning you see what those costs are. We're not hiding anything. It's part of the way we do a P3 project. In July of '25, Rick Booth started full design on our layouts, and that's the iteration we'd come to right here. In August of '25, AP3 discussed with the city all the reasons for us to go ahead and enter into the contract to operate and manage the combined facility. In September of 2025, AP3 and the City of Ashland began the discussion and negotiation on what an operation agreement could look like if the city decided that they wanted to go ahead and do and enter into the negotiated contract that we have before you now that you've had a first reading on. On October the 15th of 2025, Trace Creek and PAC Inc. Executive Director met to discuss the proposed construction schedule for the conference center and operating schedule for the Paramount. Trace Creek discussed operational needs of the Paramount. The executive director of the Paramount stated the operation of the Paramount could be conducted by utilizing the 2 existing office spaces that would not be demolished to permit construction. Trace Creek agreed not to start inter-selective demolition until after the 25 Festival of Trees. You remember when I showed you the design, the 2 little white offices that stood out beside the Paramount that were not being touched? We was told that they could use those 2 offices. Those that worked there was told they could use those 2 offices so they did not have to move behind the stage. Our initial proposal and our initial thought was we would put them temporary offices behind the stage in what is known as the Buckley Building. They told us that many of the shows that come wants that entire area. Now, I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not a show sponsor. I don't run this, so I got to listen to the experts. So we decided, along with PAC Inc. Director, that they could work from there. And that's what we are planning to do now. We're not moving the back area of the Buckley Building. The only thing we will look at, if we're the operations part of this, we will look at upgrading and making the kitchen work. We've been told that the kitchen is almost never used because a lot of it is just not used for whatever reason. We think that's a mistake. We think that kitchen needs to be operational so you can realize revenue off of the kitchen when you're having shows. Yes, it's a pain in the butt because you got to fix it back in the back and move it to the front where you sell it. But that's what you're paid for, is to generate revenue. And that's how we intend to do it. We intend to figure out what it takes to make that kitchen operational so we can sell more foodstuffs off the front of the building when you're having a show. After the Trace Creek meeting, on that same day, PAC Inc. met with the City of Ashland with their board and the executive director to discuss the renewal of PAC Inc.'s contract for another 6 months, beginning the 1st of January, and I don't have this in there, but that would have been from January 1st through the end of June of 2026. The executive, I was invited to sit in on that meeting, and these are my notes from the meeting. I just put some of those notes in this paper. These are the notes that was taken and recorded in that meeting. In the meeting, it was stated that PAC Inc. had sent a letter to the city immediately before the meeting requiring the city to subsidize the Paramount operations at $20,000 a month before the board would consider extending the contract for 6 months from January 1st, 2026 on. The city informed PAC Inc. that the city is currently operating on a line of credit and there are no current funds allocated in the budget for operation of the Paramount. That was a direct statement, folks. I've got it, I wrote it down. That was said by the city's council and the mayor that there were no allocated funds within the budget for operation of the Paramount for that 6 months, and that coincided with the new city budget. Venue Works and AP3 met with the board and PAC executive director after the city meeting. Overall operation, I want to back up one moment. There's a letter circulating on social media that was a press release from PAC Inc. Board. That letter that was released into social media does not have the same content as the letter that was sent to the city. It has a different tone and a different tenor. That's all I'm going to say about that. We met with the Paramount Board and the Executive Director with Venue Works, who we had negotiated with for over 3 months. And I can tell you that Jake presented a while ago that AP3 met with Venue Works, we met with ASM Global, and we met with OVG Oakview Group, and we talked to PAC Inc. So of those 4, we decided it best to negotiate with Venue Works for many reasons. One of the reasons is this is the type of theater that they do. Jake, would you do something for me? I mean, before we get further, tell them about the conversation you had with the operator, and you had that conversation.
Yeah.
I don't,
I spoke with Bob Filato out of Joliet. They have a Rialto Theater. And can't hear me? I apologize. I need Sam's vocals here. I mean, Sam doesn't need a microphone. So I spoke with Bob Filato of the Rialto Theater in Joliet. It's a little bit bigger than the Paramount, but he's the chair of the board there. And Venue Works took this venue over 8 years ago. And I said, give me a little bit of the history. He stated at that time the theater was losing money. The board, actually, all of them, the former board, all left immediately. And they were $600,000 in debt. So the city came in, put in a new board, and he was appointed the chair. They have now, grown, and they're profitable for past 2 years, which is a big step because they did have COVID, right? So there was a period of time where they were going through the COVID situation, but now they're profitable. I asked him, what did Venue Works bring to the organization? He said they brought the expertise that they didn't have. They brought in a network that, to bring in conferences and bring in shows. They have a network that they can tap into that they were unable to do as a local board. And he says it's been a success, wouldn't change things for anything. They're in their second renewal with Venue Works, and has said it's been a success for them.
a couple other things that we could point out. Another theater, thank you, Jake. Another theater, ironically, was a wrap and wrap design theater that they operate in Cedar Rapids. Wrap and Wrap was the architect for the Paramount Theater here in Ashland, and that is a Paramount Theater in Cedar Rapids that Venue Works operates today. They've had a great experience there. I can name others. So I'm going to address two issues that have been raised in the community before I move on with the rest of my presentation. There's been issues raised on social media vilifying Venue Works as an Iowa company coming in here with a bad history and a bad recommendation, or a bad, whatever you want to call it, a bad manager. Two examples has been put by a group on social media, and those two examples, when I seen that, and I did not know about those two examples, I did look at others that they'd been replaced or that they was not a contract renewal, but those two specific I had heard about, but I knew a little bit of the background on them, so I didn't worry about them. But I did go back, since they put it on social media. One of them was a non-renewal at the beginning of COVID. The reason it was a non-renewal, they shut the place down because it was a local hockey theater, a hockey arena that was losing lots of money. They have just now reopened it under city control as a small, one type of venue, that's a hockey arena. Why they ask for an outside operator such as Venue Works on just a hockey theater, I don't know that. But that's one of the examples that a group that is against Venue Works and AP3 used. Couple other things. One, they keep saying that that Venue Works, that city's issuing a contract that nobody knows about with Venue Works. That shows the fact they don't know what they're talking about, because the city is not entering into a contract with Venue Works. They're entering into a contract with AP3, and we've identified at Venue Works as our teaming partner. The contract also says if the city is dissatisfied and they do not meet the expectation level of the city and the annual budgets that's shown, the city can fire them. Bring somebody else in. Give us somebody that can operate this. It's a lever that the city has that they can pull that's been insisted upon by the city. I agree with it. Another theater that was used is not a theater at all. What it is a 185,000 square foot hockey arena that has about a 30,000 square foot footprint arena or theater on the side of it. I'm wrong, 30,000 foot conference center on the side of it. Well, they are correct. Venue Works their contract was not renewed, but it did not work for who Venue Works is, and Venue Works did not submit for the renewal. They let the contract expire. Now, true, the local municipality wanted to go a different direction. Folks, I've been in the construction business for 40 years, and Trace Creek's been in business almost 33. I promise you, somewhere, you're going to have to search a while, but somewhere there's going to be a client that don't think we've done a good job. It just didn't work. Maybe we made a mistake. I don't know anybody that's been in business 30 years that don't have some kind of detractor. But to base the reputation of a company on one or two instances when they can point to hundreds is a disservice to the company and a disservice to the city. So if they want to complain, let them complain after they've talked to those that had good experience and that they're still working for and turn things around. That's what needs to happen here, not be a negative person that thinks the sky's falling.
We all we're after is sustainability. When we're long and gone, it needs to still be there, and that's what our intentions are.
As part of the meeting we had on the 15th, Executive Director, we talked with the Paramount Board and Executive Director and discussed how important, and this was Venue Works. We had selected Venue Works that time to negotiate with us if the city gave us a contract. We had not been told that they was going to use that part of our agreement. They could have said, no, we're not going to go that way. The city even went to the step and back in January, February, asked for RFPs from operators. They got 3, I believe is what I was told, that even showed, it was 4, I'm sorry, that was interested, but it didn't work with the way it was put together, and the city felt like at that time they should go ahead and renew Venue Works contract. And that's what happened up until it's good through the end of December. Now the question is, do you renew it going forward, or do you go a different route with AP3 to do the operations and the maintenance along with the conference center? While we were there, we discussed with the board and the director on how important it is for there to be an advisory board that's a 501c3. There are things that an advisory board and a 501c3 to the operator can do that they can't do. It's the mission focus other than the for-profit that everybody's talking about. That will be part of it. It's in the contract. It was required by the city. Specifically in the contract, the city asked us to have a clause, and they put a clause in that said the existing operations that are community mission-based will go on. It doesn't matter what the operator wants. The city's saying these things, the Festival of Trees, the Paramount Players, the things that happen in the summer for the kids and I don't know all these things because I don't live right here, but those things are going to go on. They can go on. I'll get a little deeper and tell about how they can go on in just a moment. Venue Works and the PAC board, then AP3 and Venue Works the next day on the 16th, we met with the city. We told the city when we met with the mayor, and I don't remember. I know the mayor was there, and I believe there was 2 people in the meeting. None of you commissioners was in that meeting. We told the mayor that we felt like the meeting from the night before went very well. We felt like that Paramount knew where we was headed with this, what could work and couldn't work. We explained that we wanted that board to be a teaming partner to us. We did not try to work out the details on how it would work. And with social media, we did not work out what kind of rental agreements there would be, none of that kind of thing. We weren't selected yet, so we wasn't going to try to work something out with an entity that may end up getting the work or that someone else may come in and do. So we did not discuss that. We have not to this day discussed that. On November the 4th, AP3 reached out to the Commonwealth of Kentucky to inquire about the applicability and the permissibility for use of funds, specifically construction and operation of the conference center, included in the General Assembly's 2024 budget. A response was received on November 5th, 2025. The funds are required to be used for construction of the conference center. Interest earned on the funds after they have been drawn down and received from the Commonwealth can be used for the conference center in Paramount, the combined operations, prior to the conference center construction completion. Those funds can be used to pay for the operating expense of the Paramount until it becomes a joint facility, and then if there is still funds, that can be used also, so the money does not come out of the city's general fund. That was what we reported. We found it. We talked to the Commonwealth. We talked to the Budget Director's office, and we reported that back to the city on November the 5th. On November 20th, immediately before the City Commission meeting, the PAC Inc. Board emailed a letter to the city stating that it would not renew its contract with the city. This email notice received by the city was sent immediately before the first reading of the ordinance to enter into a contract with AP3 for operations, management, and maintenance of the Paramount. First reading of the ordinance was held at the City Commission meeting on the 20th of November. It was noted by a city commissioner as part of the first reading approval that a discussion of the contract terms with AP3 and the city would be held before a second reading of the ordinance can be had. And I heard that. Not only was I reported that, I heard that. I know that's true. That's why it's in here. A brief discussion was held on November 20th meeting about the cost of $319,000 for the operation of the Paramount. It's been again in social media portrayed that the city is writing a $319,000 check, as social media said, to Venue Works and just giving it to them for them to start operating. Again, not true. There's no $319,000 check going to be issued. We put together, AP3, with the help of Venue Works, put together a pro forma and a budget for what it will cost to operate the Paramount for 6 months. That same 6-month cycle would be required as a startup to start up all the facility for the conference center before it's completed. That same 6-month term would have to be done to start all of the hiring, to figure out how things were going to work, food stuff, staff. All that would happen in that 6 months anyway, and we basically brought it forward a year for operation of the Paramount. Yes.
To that point, we didn't assume any revenue brought in either. So that was
It's the
all
next-
expense. Oh, I'm jumping ahead.
No, you're good. No, you're good. The cost, that 319 was a estimated cost, and again, the city will see all the books. There's nothing hidden here. The city sees all the cost. There'll be a management fee charged by AP3 and Venue Works, or if it's not Venue Works, it'll be someone else. Right now, it is dedicated to be Venue Works. As long as they perform and as long as they're willing to enter into the correct contract with us in the city, with us being the contract holder and Venue Works being our subcontractor and teaming partner, the operator will be Venue Works if we're hired for this project. That money is put into an escrowed account. It'll be an operating fund and a booking fund. It'll be a separate checking account, and I can go into more detail. I don't litigate, nor do I negotiate contracts in an open meeting like this. It's not proper, folks. That's what you're hired for. That's why you have lawyers on staff. That's why you look through everything we do. You can't talk about how things are going to work and get 50 opinions, because all 50 of them they're going to disagree. So you have to understand that you're hired to represent the people. And that's, we presented it to you. Now, if you want to talk about the contract, folks, that's up to you. That's not our call. But I'm not going to talk about, and I'm not going to sit here and have social media portray us as the bad guy when all we've done is try to make this project happen and make it accretive to this city. I'm not going to do it. To make this work,
Sam, I would say that the contract having been given first reading is a matter of public record. So in terms of the terms being discussed, you're not going to violate anything by, it's an open record.
just, sir, if you
I'm
want.
not- I'm
if
just
they want-
saying.
If you want to answer questions, but I'm not.
No,
gonna-
I mean,
I'm not
you
going to
know-
get into, from my side, from the private part of the private public. I'm not going to discuss what we do in an open forum.
I got you.
I don't think it's proper, and it's just another way for folks to take digs at people that don't know what they're talking about. Not going to do it. And you as an attorney, if you as an advisor to a client, you'd tell them to shut their mouth and let me do the talking. And I agree with you. AP3 and Venue Works would utilize our existing network to start booking events at the conference center and the Paramount immediately upon signing a contract with us. The presented cost was based on discussions relative to the immediate operational cost for the Paramount and industry experience of the team. It was stated to AP3 by PAC Inc. that only 2 shows had been confirmed as booked for the Paramount after July 1st, 2026. That was at the November meeting, is what I'm talking about. I am told there has been some more confirmation since then, but at the end, there was only two confirmed bookings. AP3, the 6-month term is what will be required to start booking. We need to do it immediately. Folks, if you go into this in 2 months from now, if you haven't started booking acts for as soon as you can get them, and especially starting in May, June, July, and August, every month you're going to lose X amount of dollars. I can tell you that in doing open records requests, so we know, I know what the numbers that's been presented to the city that the current PAC Inc. board is losing every month. It's an open records document. Once it's submitted to the city, it was part of the original contract, and it is a huge number. We are going to change that. That's what we're here to do. AP3 and Venue Works will immediately start promotion of the Paramount and the Conference Center upon execution of agreement with the city. The agreement under consideration by the City Commission will allow for operation, management, and maintenance of the Paramount to be assumed on January 1st of 26. Full operation, management, and maintenance of the combined facility will start immediately upon completion of construction of the Conference Center. Folks, that's what I have written down. I've delivered what I believe to be 100% truth to this commission. We don't have anything to hide. I'll take any question you have. Jake will take any question about methods or how we got here. If you ask a question that we cannot answer, we will get you an answer, and it'll be within 2 days. I don't think there'll be a question you can answer that's a legitimate, or ask, that's legitimate to the construction, the design, or even operation, that we can't give you an answer. But if we give you one, no, we believe it to be true. And with that, I'll be quiet and take your questions.
well, clearly, this presentation is meant for the public and as well as the commission to be as informative as it can be in terms of the direction that the city needs to go in. It's encouraging the number of people that have come out for this meeting, and I thank you very much for being here. We can't always all be on the same page with everything that we're trying to do, and we understand that there are differences of opinion. The idea that you're here today expresses your concern for the city and for its future and the future of the Paramount, and we thank you for being here.
Well said.
Are you taking questions? I was waiting. I think we should.
Sure. You want to come up to the podium?
Jake?
We may have some questions back at you, Mr. Hall, but come on up.
My name's Roger Hall. I'm a citizen of Ashland. I'm not paid anything by anybody involved in what's before you. I got to the point where I was ready to pay somebody else to take my spot. I've been on the board for years. I'm not now. My time ran out. I thought it would be over, but we're still meeting hours each week, at night, whatever. We're not getting paid. And we do it because we love this theater. And Sam, I promise you, this has nothing to do with social media because I'm too old to know how to do it. I couldn't get on these talk things now, wouldn't know what to do. So I promise you, I'm not doing that.
I've got a 4-year-old grandson that could probably teach us both how to do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it struck me in listening to the comments that when a company wants to move into your area, they ask about education. Well, you can come ask the Paramount about education. You can ask about the 58,000 students that come to the Paramount every year. You can ask about how they get there and how they get home. And you can ask how many of those children have never been to the Paramount before. That's the first time they've seen something of the arts in a theater like that, a gorgeous theater like that. The rest of this about how we're going to build it and all that kind of thing, it's too late. It's for those of us that were going down to the end with our foot hanging over the end of the building. That's gone. I understand. And I understand your position, but that's not over because you all have to decide whether or not the people of Ashland are going to operate that building, number one, with the kids in mind and the local scene here. That company, we're not saying bad things about the company that Sam was talking to you about. Was it Iowa or, after you get past the other side of Mississippi, I can't tell you where it is, but I think they're from Iowa. They have lots of theaters. They've got lots of money. They're going to do better under this contract. They're going to get, about $30,000 a month, something like that. I don't know when that starts, but and that money has to be spent. That's why we're in the situation we are now, is that money has not been spent up until last year. And I'm not going to nitpick all this stuff, but as we have heard, sustainability is the deal, and I don't represent restaurant owners, but I imagine when they hear about people lined up and there's going to be this major restaurant situation across the street and I'm sure there's going to be some concern. And we know that this company that wants to come in here and operate, yes, and Sam's, their people, they have national contracts. They can, bring in stuff and whatever. We don't have national contracts. We try and provide not full meals or anything, but something to drink and snacks and whatever is what we've had to do because we're not getting any other money that's coming in. Now, we were told, don't book anything else. So Sam's right. We had 2 things left, and we were told not to book anything else, and we did not.
No.
Now,
Who told you that?
Told you that.
Told you that.
No, we didn't.
No.
I sit and heard the mayor out of his own mouth in his office tell, you book, the city's responsible for it. Period.
we'll,
Mr. Hall, I can tell you, I've been in nearly constant communication with Holly Canfield about making sure the next 6 months, I have the calendar of events in my email. I can show it to
when
you.
did you talk to her about that?
I've talked to her several times. Ask her, is she here?
Okay,
I mean,
was
it's been
that
several
after
times.
you were told not
Been
to?
several times over the past 6 months.
She can tell you.
Sure.
She's the director and
Sure.
she's here.
I mean, please tell him.
Our contract ends December 31st. I've been told, Paramount Board has instructed me not to book past then.
You
In
said the
con-
board said that.
Yes, that's correct. In conversations that I've had with the city as well, there was no guarantee that we were going to be managing the theater after December 31st, and that does look like the case.
Sure, I get that, but that's different than being said, don't book anything. He's saying that the city or somebody on behalf of the city instructed the Paramount. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Hall?
May I
No,
stop?
I want to hear this from Mr.
No,
Hall.
well, I'd be
I'm
glad to-
asking you, sir. You're up here saying that
Yes.
that the city has had communication with the Paramount and
No.
said, don't book anything.
No, sir.
Is that accurate?
If that's what you think I said we couldn't book after that, and that's just what she's saying. We were finished.
May I stop you just a minute, sir?
Sure.
2 moments ago, you looked back at me and pointed at me when they said, "Who told you not to book anything?"
Well,
I've never used those words.
Well, you don't have any authority to do anything
Correct.
like that.
I didn't do that.
That's
Now,
right.
one other thing I want to point out to you, I can go back in our calendars, and I can tell you as far back as at least 9 months ago, the city, before the first extension at the end of June, said, go ahead and book, and it come directly out of the mayor's mouth. The city will take the responsibility for the show, you book it.
I've
We
said
don't
that
want an empty
numerous
theater.
times.
I heard that said, I know, over 8 months ago, I know. And I can go back and pull dates if you want to know when the meeting was held. And that was said directly to Holly. But our,
You simply cannot book if there's not a contract in place past December 31st. There have been several meetings between the Paramount Board, me, the city of Ashland. I mean, Andrew, you even had for a while concerns about us moving forward with booking. I mean, there's been so many discussions. I think the main issue that we've had here is lack of communication to some degree, right? And things have moved rather quickly here toward the end. So my frustration is simply the how is not there. We believe that the city wants the exact same thing as packing, for at least I do. I believe that the city wants the mission-based work to continue. How? There is the big questions, and I believe that those would have been answered had there been more time. I do understand that back in October, there was discussions about PAC Inc. continuing to manage the theater through June of 2026. At that time, the Paramount Board did say to the city, listen, we need some help. As of this moment, the nonprofit PAC Inc. is paying rent to the city of Ashland for use of the Paramount, as well as we're covering all utilities, we're covering maintenance up to, I believe, $25,000. That is not sustainable for us either as an organization. And we're the nonprofit that's been operating in this community for 50 plus years. So we simply said to the city, we can't continue to do that since you have purchased the building. Now, I do understand this is no knock at Venue Works whatsoever. I believe Venue Works has lots of experience in managing the theater. We have had good conversations with them. The concern from my end is the staff that has been here from day one providing these education activities. How will they be protected? As well as how will these events continue in our community, these activities, voice lessons, acting lessons, the Paramount Players, the Festival in Trees and Trains. Again, I really believe that everyone here wants the same thing. The real question is how and what does that look like?
Well, I think that's an issue with the nonprofit Paramount Inc., in that the 501c3 to carry out their mission. I was told that at the end of December 31st, they would have $500,000 in the bank. Now, that's a good start to be able to carry out a mission. And they can still do that. I see no reason they can't.
What revenue will they be able to bring in with lack of ticket sales, lack of ancillary income such as merchandise sales, concession sales, to be able to support those and sustain those activities? Now, I do realize that As a nonprofit, you can fundraise and you can write grants and things like that. As a nonprofit, you can fundraise and you can write grants and things like that. But it's not enough money to continue offering all of those activities. So again, it's just a matter of how. I 100% believe that we can get there. It just requires more communication to get to the point that we need to get to ensure that these mission-based activities continue in Ashland and our region.
She said it much better than I did, and I'm going to quit, so, thank you.
Hi, I'm Matt Hammond. I'm the education director over at the Paramount. Just for a second to kind of break the tension a little bit, the fact that we have a logo on the front of the commissioner's stand that has a paintbrush and a treble clef on it, that's my favorite thing about Ashland. I interned with Michelle Grubb for a long time and helped her design that logo. So, first of all, my master's degree is in arts administration. I knew about VenueWorks far before the agreement happened. I did a paper on them in my master's degree school. And I have a lot of respect for VenueWorks. It's a great organization. That being said, though, I do these kind of things a little bit different, a little bit scripted, just letting you know. And for address, I work at the Paramount, 1300 Winchester. Everybody in this room knows where the Paramount is. So thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm Matt. Matthew's way too formal for me. And I'm the director of education at the Paramount Arts Center. And also I'm the choir director at the Chocolate Church. If there wasn't a wall right there, you could see my church. I love my church. I started working at the Paramount in 2013 as a child actor and grew up in the theater. I became a director, and now my job is to implement educational programming. During my tenure at the Paramount Arts Center, more than any time in its history, over 200,000 students have visited the Arts Center for a youth education series show. There are 20,000 people in the Metro Ashland area. There were 200,000 people at the Paramount last year for education. In addition to that, I direct and music direct the Paramount Players with artistic director and my best friend, Rick Payne. We, as a team, have directed 40 shows to enrich our area in the arts. I say all of this to get to a point. I do not come here to blame city employees, past or present elected employees, or anyone else, especially VenueWorks. My job is now to advocate for the future of education in art in Ashland, for artists in the tri-state who know our great city. Last week, I was told by the board of directors at the Paramount Arts Center that all staff will be laid off January 1st. And I was concerned about this because the city of Ashland has very much so expressed interest in keeping education programming alive. I was told that the reasoning for this was because nonprofit activities will not be funded by VenueWorks. This leaves an organization very important to me, the Paramount Players, with no path forward. My request, as an educator who's taught an American Idol winner, Noah Thompson, performers on the Grand Ole Opry stage, coached over 20 students to receiving full tuition scholarships, and countless Governor's School for the Arts and all-state attendees because of the Paramount, is to make a concrete plan for...
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. A concrete plan for this group of performers to move forward. In addition to the request, I would recommend including staffing for the Paramount Players and educational programming in the AP3 contract. I am not alienating them for being from Iowa. I am saying you need to understand that these are professionals in our community that deserve to be appreciated. We, as the city of Ashland, have responsibility to protect and support programs that give our students opportunities. I've seen several posts on social media saying the city saved the Paramount. For that, I want to take this opportunity to say thank you. But to add on that, please help maintain the staff that brings creativity to a city with the motto, create with us. Thank you so much.
Mr. Hammond, before you go, I just wanted to give you a quick thank you from the staff.
Sure.
When we were developing the RFP towards the end of last year, you provided some really, really good information for us to consider
you.
about all the shows and all the educational programs and everything that we didn't have any other way of obtaining.
Sure, yeah.
And that was tremendously helpful. And
Thank you.
that's actively being considered and being used to try to figure out how this is going to work out. And if you
Yeah.
have any other information, please
Love to.
please share it with us.
The biggest concern is, guys, like I perform with John Johnson with the Boyd County Band. I have to make sure he has a concert. Is it important for me to have a job? Absolutely. That being said, though, it's more important for the Boyd County Band to be able to perform at the Paramount. It's more important for Russell to be able to perform at the Paramount. As of January 1st right now, those educational and artistic individuals who help manage these events, they're gone. And as much as I love the Paramount, at that point, it's out of our hands. That's my concern. And I appreciate you guys. Seriously, this meeting means a lot.
Appreciate your comments, and we appreciate
Yeah.
you. I love the arts, you know, I majored, that's how I got through college.
Sure.
I was a full music scholarship, so I identify with that. But also, you know, I've waited and wrestled with this thing since January, maybe even before that. But, you know, the letter that was sent to us references a notice of non-renewal of lease. And I quote, "This letter shall serve as an official notification to you of the Paramount Arts Center's Inc.'s decision not to further extend its lease with the city of Ashland."
Sure.
We're laying off no one.
Yeah. But you would have the ability to negotiate with Venue Works to not lay off professionals that are valuable to Ashland.
We have talked about that with them several times.
Sure.
And I've relayed that
Mayor, if I
to
may?
your board. Yes, yes, sir.
And as Mr. Martin said earlier, what's been presented to this commission, since it has a first reading, is a public record. I'm going to read directly from what has been negotiated between the city and AP3. Under employment and staffing, employees, all persons engaged at the facility in performing any of the services hereunder shall be the sole and exclusive employee of the subcontractor, being Venue Works, and shall be paid by subcontractor except for those individuals employed or utilized by subcontractors of subcontractor as provided for in this agreement, but in no event shall be deemed an employee of AP3 or the city. Here's the important part. Incumbent employees working at the facility shall be offered the opportunity to continue in their position as subcontractor employees for 60-day evaluation period. At the end of the evaluation period, employees who have performed satisfactorily will be offered continued employment in the facility by subcontractor. You got a job 60 days after they lay you off, if you lay you off at the end of December, and it's guaranteed. As long as you work good and it's doing what's necessary to make that accretive to the city's happy with your performance, AP3's happy, and Venue Works is happy, your job is safe.
Okay.
And be assured.
If that's communicated, if that was communicated, it's different. But also with the Director of Education position being what it is, we were also told that there would be situations where, like, those kind of positions were not to be continued.
And therein lies the problem.
Yeah.
Therein, the problem is not one person from this community, and my name has been all over this place. Jake is the managing member, but my name has been front and center, and I'm not really unknown to the people in this community. A lot of you may not know me, but if you had called and asked the mayor that, or if you had called and asked the corporate counsel, or if someone would have called me directly and asked about that, I could have told you that. But I will tell you, I got very offended when information that was said in here was said and leaked to social media, and it was a direct opposite to what was actually said. I got offended by that.
All right. Thank you.
You'd have to ask the PAC board that. We didn't do that. That was not our choice.
Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Robin Hale. You guys have forced me to come out of my self-imposed retirement. I ran Backstage Players, the predecessor to Paramount Players, for over 20 years. Mayor, I believe your son enjoyed a good bit of that.
Right.
I'm here about the Paramount and about the running of the Paramount, the actual day-to-day of that. This gentleman here told us that this other theater that this Venue Works has managed might have a few more seats. Let me tell you something. That few more seats, that means a whole lot. Last time I recall, the Paramount had 1,365 seats. Now, I may be off a little bit on that.
14, 17.
Okay, so it's a little bit larger now since they down in the pit. But you can't bring huge things here. This is a niche theater. And it's not a theater, it's a theater. And I was there. My dad, John Skaggs, is on the original plaque in the building. He was on the original board of directors. And when I was 12 years old, I was scraping gum off the bottom of those seats up in the balcony. Okay? I know every square inch of that theater. I remember when the bathroom for the gals was on the right and the men's was on the left. And it was much larger over on there. I remember crawling through the catwalks up on the top. I know every inch of that theater. I've worked my guts out in that theater. And I love that theater and would chain myself to the door if it were to close. What I want to say is that under the tutelage of Linda Latimer, who was the second director of the Paramount, we had our first renovation, and that renovation went very well. It was very minor, but it did a good job. The second one came under Kathy Timmons Setterman, okay? That is an astonishing accomplishment, complete with a fly system, all kinds of things that you wouldn't find in a theater of this size. It was sustainable. Now, I know COVID probably had a big part of it becoming unsustainable, but here's the truth. You can't be putting your you can't be putting your stuff outside and trying to get this to make all your money. The Paramount is its own beauty, and people like to come, and they like to dress up, and they like to come in there. I was there when the local 1865 was put up on that marquee to make it work again. It was volunteer work that the union men did on their own. It was union men who came in and worked in the original renovation. I remember that. This Paramount Arts Center was a gift. It was a gift from the citizens to the city, okay? And then I remember when Kathy, I guess she was still Timmons then, Kathy Sutherland, when she made the Who Needs the Paramount? We all need the Paramount. I remember that, and I believe that. I had 60,000 children come through either as participants or as participants and witness of live theater. I was the first one to bring that back to the Paramount. I still hold the record on the number of sold-out performances because I watch. And this niche theater ran very well, and we had people here who knew how to do that. You all know who they are. Every one of you does. And we let them go. Kathy Setterman and I had very many conversations about the biggest job either one of us had was who we picked to replace us, because that would say whether they live or they die. Backstage Players died. I didn't do a good job at that, okay? And now you've got the Paramount Players, which is very, very different because it has adults and kids. We were just kids. But this theater can survive, and there are local people who know who maybe were local, I should say, who know how to run this. They didn't have any problem doing it. I have to question why you even want to run it here. And I want to know, when you say Paducah has a few more seats, how many are you talking about? Because the difference in a $160,000 production, if you can even do a production for that now, you know, we can't charge $300 a seat in the Paramount. It was never meant to be that. It was supposed to be for the whole town. Everybody to come, everybody to enjoy, and everybody to learn. That's the whole mission. That's what it's always been. Backstage Players and the youth ballet were the two reasons that they were able to get grant money, because you had to have a house theater and you had to have a house dance company. There are people who know that, who could come right back here and would probably want to run this place. It doesn't have to be an outsider. It doesn't have to be. And I just have to think, you know, in 1973, we decided that insurance shouldn't be not for profit anymore. It should be for profit. How's that worked out? I don't think it's worked out very well. I think we all worry about that. I think you need to make the Paramount exactly what it is, exactly what it's been. It needs to be well run, and it doesn't, and we need to get back to where we were. I don't think the city should own it forever. I don't. I don't. Because someday somebody who says, who cares about the Paramount, who never enjoyed what we know, who never got to be a part of that because we change it, they'll say, we need to divest ourselves of this big dog. And we can't do that. That's our job. That's your job. And that's why I'm here today out of my forced retirement. I don't want to see the Paramount go away. And I don't want to see children not get to be there and to be in a play. What did I tell them all? Anybody can do great things. They just have to want it. Well, I want this. And I'm an anybody. And I want you to think long and hard about whether or not you can do better than this. We don't have to have a for-profit management. You said yourself, it's just sustainability. That's what you're looking for. You just want it to pay for itself. That's all you want. Cindy Rowe Collins. She was the right and the left hand of the Paramount. She wasn't even considered for the job to run it, okay? So what did she do? Packed up all her little stuff and she went down to the Mountain Arts Center. Put it right on the map. Had never really been on the map before, but it was then. Where'd she go from there? She went right over to Huntington. Ran the Big Sandy Arena, if that's what they still call it. She's now in Florida. That's somebody whose roots are here, who knows every inch of that theater like I know every inch of that theater. She knows where everything is. She knows where the grants are. She knows who the people are. And let me tell you, when you say, well, that one's a little bit bigger, 100 seats makes a huge difference in what you can bring to a facility. And I'm not hearing anybody say that. I want you to think about it. I want you to think long and hard. There was a promise made. It was a promise to the citizens of this town, and they manned up. They came up with the money twice to make it an even better place. This city manned up. I ask you to do the same. Man up. Keep it in Ashland. Keep it run by people who know this niche market. They already know this market. They already know what works here. And they're not looking to make a profit off of it. They're just trying to keep kids in plays, kids doing art camps, and all that kind of stuff. And I won't bother you, and I sure won't be as windy.
Well, we thank you for your comments.
Yeah,
And
thank you so much. And I appreciate that the city bought it, but I know that you don't think you ought to keep it. It should not be your responsibility to keep it, and it shouldn't, because of what it is. But the citizens were made a promise, and I want you to think long and hard before you give that away.
all right.
Thank you.
We'll take one more comment.
Mayor, may I make a comment
Sure.
very quickly?
Just a second, sir.
I agree with this lady.
I have a small question.
Just a moment, please.
Well, no, this is a short one, and you got the answer.
Okay.
How many people is the convention center going to accommodate?
How many?
How many?
The top floor, about 900 to 950.
First floor?
The first floor is broke up into smaller,
I know,
but it's,
overall, one big thing.
I don't know the exact number.
All right, how much the four of them each?
I'm sorry.
The four sections on the first floor each,
I
how
don't,
much?
I don't have the exact number, and it's more if you have it opened all the way up.
Exactly.
I believe that, Jake, do you know, is it 1,800 total with both
If it
floors?
was fully. it's
I
about
believe it's
18.
between 1,700 and 1,800 people between both floors,
Between
if
both
they was
floors,
combined.
okay.
Now, that's my recollection from memory. I could be off a little bit. So don't hold me to that exact number, please.
So about 800 on the second floor, so
Somewhere
About
between 800 and
700.
900 on each floor.
around 7 on the first floor.
Maximum capacity.
All right,
Yes.
you know what? We're gonna have enough hotel rooms in town.
I'm Victor Wilson, 1111 First Circle Prospect, and I would just like to second her motion. And I think by all means, Ashland deserves to have a management company that is sensitive to the needs and the histories of its citizens, so that it can stay and feel local and gain strength from being local. And I know people like John Hunt. I sing in the choir with him at Calvary Episcopal, and I know his daughter is in the ballet that performs at the Paramount, and it very much needs to remain a local, intensive organization, and cost or profit should not be the element. It should be about bringing the whole community into Ashland.
Thank you.
Let me make two comments, please, Mayor.
Make an ending comment.
Well, I can do that, or you can do a follow-up if you wish.
All right.
To the lady that just spoke, I've never met that lady,
Okay.
but I agree with her. Paramount needs to be what it was before. I've said that many times.
And we're all after that.
And it can be.
We're after
And
that.
it really, as I listened to her talk about the name Cindy Collins, and ma'am, Cindy did not go to the Paramount Arts Center. She went to the, what is known as, what's the cellular company in southeastern Kentucky? She went to the Appalachian Wireless Arena. She left there and went to what is now Mountain Health. It's not Big Sandy, it's Mountain Health, and she's now in Florida, and I have spoken to her directly. I'll let you infer what you want from that.
I've talked to her myself. I'm very aware.
Thank you. To this gentleman's point, I couldn't disagree, I couldn't agree with him more. It needs to be local people. Folks, here's the bottom line. That same contract, it's at the city's discretion. We don't make more money by putting on more shows unless they make money. We're paid a management fee and then a variable fee off of the total gross. So if the city tells us today, we want to reserve 100 dates to do nothing but community theater, it's up to the city. It's not up to us. The city who owns that building, the city who controls the contract, the same city that said, and there's an attachment to the contract that says what is going on currently will continue to go on. If Paramount Players, if PAC Inc., by submitting a document saying they wanted nothing else to do with it and they want to walk away, I don't truly believe that, because the document they submitted to the city is not the same document that was posted on Facebook. It did not say the same thing. Quite frankly, it's open records. The one they submitted to the city said, we're done, we quit. The one on Facebook said, we've stopped with the city because you're going to hire somebody else, but we would really like to continue working with the city or the new operator. We've tried to do that from day one. Not one time have we told PAC Inc. that we do not want to work with them. But it's written in the contract that we will either work with the current PAC Inc. as our advisory board, or a 501c3 that may exist in the city as an advisory board, or, as has happened in other places, we'll set up a new 501c3 board foundation, and it will continue on what's going on with the Paramount Players. It'll continue on, and we by all means would like to bring back some of what's not going on now, both from a fundraising method for the city to pay for operations, but also for the arts. I don't think one of you can sit there with a good conscience and say that you want. I know you don't. Not one of you want the Paramount to fail. Not one of you want for the Paramount not to have the marquee working and the streets full of people, that the police has got to tell them to get off the street. We'd all love that, but it has to change. You cannot do it the way you've done it, because you'll end up with the same result that caused you to buy. It has to change. I'm not telling you what that change is. That's your decision. We've offered you a roadmap to make change. We believe we've been completely open with you and tell you how we intend to do it. We will initially take over and operate the Paramount. In less than 2 years, we will take over and we will have the conference center online, and it takes 2 years to book a conference center. Holly will tell you that there's acts out there that's calling her that wants to book a year, 18 months, 2 months out, or 2 years out. That's how far out they book these events. The city is going to incur a lot of loss in the next 6 to 8 months. It's going to happen. You don't have events. You must keep them open. You're going to have employees that it takes for whatever events you get scheduled. Someone has got to come in and be very creative and very forward with getting it done.
And that's why we're doing it now.
May I just say
We appreciate-
something?
As a retired music teacher, I have been so proud of our area's art scene. We have music teachers in, I think, every school, art teachers in every school. Some schools have dance teachers, and of course we have the ballet downtown. We must have the theater people at the Paramount, not anybody else. We need people who are the theater. We need education. You say education is the first thing people look for as they're looking for a city to inhabit. Arts education is top of the list. We can get all the other education in the schools, but we've got to have the theater people at the Paramount, not laid off and finding other people to do it.
No one here has ever said that.
advocating that.
Well, they were laid off for some reason by somebody.
Not by us.
Okay. I have a feeling that each and every one of you all up there want the Paramount to continue. You are in favor of the education in the arts. You didn't know this was going to happen. Nobody knew this was going to happen. Whatever it is that's happening, because I don't understand half of what that guy said. So let's just remember our people that we've always had and still need.
Thank you.
Can we end with one more question? Just to.
One more. Okay.
Thank you. My name's Jamie Lima. I am relocated to Ashland for the last 2 years with my family, but I'm originally from the area. My first taste of the stage was on stage as a little ballerina with, and doing my performance at the Paramount. And then for the last 2 decades, I've been in music education successfully in the New York area. And to Matt Hammond's point, I've been very enticed especially over the last handful of years, coming back to visit family at Christmas and things. My husband is from the New York area as well. And we noticed the logo and Ashland's invitation to create with us. And so upon the sale of our music schools, we relocated back by choice. My little girl's here. She's been a Paramount player. And the Paramount has really embraced our 501c3 nonprofit. It's called Let Them Rock. And because of them, we had summer camp programming. We have 15 students just locally in the area. We also serve 120 students through the schools in the tri-state. And so my question is, because I feel like we are all unified at this meeting in wanting the music education and the performance opportunities, and we realize the importance of arts, I feel like we're all unified with that. But I have some students who we just are wrapping up our fall winter season, which the culmination of our show is going to be at the Paramount on December 16th. That's John Johnson's Boyd County concert. Paramount has just really embraced what we're about and our performance-based music education. And so the kids are asking me, what's next? We had loosely discussed spring programming at the Paramount. And so we're getting assurances, and which I'm thrilled, we're getting assurances that everyone wants to see that continue. But what is that next step and when? Like, what is the lull going to be? What does that look like for the kids who, once they wrap up their Frozen show, and for my music students who, once they wrap up their performance December 16th, it's up in the air. I thought, well, I'll come to the meeting today and see what's going to happen. And we need to make reintroductions with the music program so that we just want the kids to be able to still take the stage. Like, that's the outlet. We're in a big sports area. And for the kids who aren't sports, this is their team. This is their family. This is their positive outlet. And so I love that everyone agrees with that. But what is that next step? What is that interim, or what needs to happen for it to continue? So if we could just have like a clear.
I think we need to get through the contract phase and get everybody on the same page, and then we'll find out more details of, get down to the what it will look like. Great.
Yes.
Okay, so
As we've all said, the community events, education, all of the things that we've talked about are going to be contractual obligations of whomever operates the Paramount, now and in the future.
So I'm optimistic, like from what I'm hearing today is that it's intended from all parties, regardless of
Absolutely. Always has been.
that will continue.
Now, you know, where all this other stuff come from, I don't know.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other discussion?
I just want to touch on what Jamie said too. We've had, and I respect everybody for being here. Thank you so much for everything you shared, you know. But we just want to be in the room when all this happens, okay?
You're welcome at every meeting.
No,
They're all-
I mean, in the discussions whenever we start the contract agreements. You know, have the Paramount players be involved in the negotiations of prices, of leases, of what we need, and et cetera, et cetera. We just want that guarantee.
Well, this will be a contract with the city.
The more input we get, the better.
Yes, absolutely.
Your concerns need to be expressed, and we'll do our best to address them in the contractual documents that we come up with.
Absolutely. And also, too, the transparency of the advisory council, when that happens, do we get to see that before, like in the drafting process? Do we get to have every step? Do we get to be involved in those steps as well? Not just at the hearing, as these are transpiring.
Ma'am, you said are you a part of the Paramount Players Organization?
My daughter's in the Paramount. I'm just a concerned citizen.
Okay, well, how's that work with you guys in the Paramount Nonprofit Corporation? How are they communicating these type of things to you? Because we don't control, listen, the city of Ashland does not control the Paramount Arts Center Nonprofit Corporation. It's a standalone private entity. So how are they communicating changes and concerns to your parent group?
We just have an open discussion all the time. It's always between the Paramount players, Matt, and there's full transparency on what we get from them. But what I'm saying is to take it a step further, as we start the plans, as you go into negotiations with VentureWorks, which I'm not knocking VentureWorks at all, I think they're great as well. And I'm also friends with Cindy Collins, and I talked to her, and she's just a couple weeks ago too. You know, these are all great steps, and I love it. It's back to touch on sustainability. I 100% think that we need to be sustainable. City needs to be sustainable. Paramount needs to be sustainable as well. Two different entities being sustainable on their own. But when we come to talk, I just want to make sure that communication is always there. There's somewhere something happened in between, you know, the past few years and now where there's been a disconnect, and I'm not sure why that happened. You know, and I want this guarantee on our end, from the creative side of our community. Just like Jamie said, you know, our kids don't play sports. They're in the arts. We get left out of balls.
I think that would be a conversation that I would have, you know, with the Paramount Board.
Will the board remain? That's another question.
Well, we're asking that it becomes an advisory board with VentureWorks. And I think they're amenable to it. But we'll get to that point.
And then when that becomes, because my background honestly is in economic development. I worked in development for 15 years for Southern Ohio. You know, advisory boards are different for every nonprofit. When that advisory board or that advisory council is created, do we get to be in that conversation as well? To see what kind of input what value our input really is to the community?
I think that would be a conversation again with the Paramount Board. I mean, because, you know, we at this point, we own the building. You know, we have nothing to do, as Mr. Wheeler said, you know, it's a private 501c3. You know, we don't control it.
So the 501c3 will, with this proposed deal, the 501c3.
Oh, it won't go away. It'll still be there.
For the Paramount players and all the programming, summer camp programming, and then VentureWorks will be the commercial show bookings.
If I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
We're really talking about two separate things.
You're right.
And trying to conflate the two. So the bottom line is, if AP3 and VentureWorks is chosen as the operator for operations, maintenance, and management of the Paramount and the Conference Center, it's the city's intent, to the best of my knowledge, that once the Conference Center is constructed, that the operations will be together. That makes sense. You can't really shouldn't have two operators, so it should be one. This is the interim between now and then that whoever takes over, and then there'll be someone will take over for that. My opinion is AP3 and Venue Works has extended an olive branch to PAC Inc. I don't believe that it's been received. If they want to work with us, we're perfectly amenable to do that. If I was in your two ladies with the passion you have, I'd request to be on the board of Paramount. I would want to be in the room to make the decisions. I would ask to be included with your passion for what you believe in from the arts. You're a perfect fit. So one of two things is going to happen. Paramount can agree, hopefully, and they can become an advisory board, and what they've done before will still go on. Hopefully it expands. They have funds to do that. Hopefully there's a way to make it so that they can still be able to generate funds. That is what still has to be worked out. And PAC Inc. can decide if they want to and go do what they're doing without the Paramount, without the theater, if they want to do that. That's their choice. They're a 501c3 with a fully independent board. We have no control over it. The city has no control over it. But I can tell you, if they decide they do not want to be part of what's going on at the Paramount, that's their choice. We will set up a 501c3 board that's a foundation to raise money through a foundation to put on and maintain what's happened at the Paramount in some form or fashion. It will be the arts. It will be for the kids. If whatever will happen, the Paramount will always, that we've been charged is to make sure what it's done will continue only so that it's not losing $50,000 a month. No one can sustain that. And that's what we've been charged with. I would also tell you, I would be proud to have you as an advisory member to a board that we have, if it come to that, because you have a passion for this community. You moved to New York and moved back after decades. That's because, it's not because you made great amount of money by moving back. You come back because you have a passion for this area. You love this area. I never left it. My family's lived here since the early 1800s. I'm not going anywhere. That's what we need more of.
A guarantee. What that really boils down to for the theater is how much rent are they going to charge Paramount players for every day they're in there. And when you're in a for-profit organization, what happens with that?
Well, that was out there on social media, but
We know that they're a nonprofit organization, and we know what Venue Works is. They're a venue company. What is AP3 LLC? Because when I Google it, you're not a Norwegian pension company. What do you build stuff, or do you?
AP3 is what is known as a purpose. It is a single purpose. It is a private-public partnership that is specifically established by statute.
Y'all are for-profit?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And we are developers, operators, and all that.
Are you developers and operators, is that what you would call what is the blanket term for your business? What is it?
Because AP3 is owned 100% by Pillar. Pillar is
What is it?
Pillar is a development company.
Pillar owns it, okay,
Yeah.
so what is
Pillar-
it?
Pillar-
It's a development company?
Yes, and we work with municipalities and do P3 projects.
And do like building projects?
Yes.
And then you also do, you run the
Operations,
How many theaters do you run?
we don't.
I'm sorry?
How many theaters do we?
We don't run them ourselves. We bring in as part of what we
I'm
do.
not saying that you did. Yeah. Just for the people that don't understand the room, because I'm one
No,
of the
you're
more
fine.
undereducated people probably in this room, and that's no problem, but I'm here as a citizen of Ashland who loves Paramount. And you had said that you were offended by some people talking online. Well, the people who are talking online love this town. We're from here and we love it, and it's okay. It should be okay for anybody to get on social media and ask questions, raise awareness. Questions are good. Questions are what make this country great. And we should be asking questions. What is AP3? If you're a for-profit and you're going to be working with Venue and they're a for-profit, you only got so many seats. Are y'all going to be arguing over the profits, fighting over the bones? I mean, what? You're going to stop in the middle of December. Let me say one more thing. You're going to stop what you're doing in the middle of December, which is the highest time of the year or whatever, and you're going to say, oh, well, we don't want to make money this month. We're going to do the trains and things and the trees for the little Ashland folks.
All right.
Stop making money?
Thank you, ma'am.